Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching season 3 of Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsor, which is my own shirt that you can actually get on Redbubble. And I'm about to drop it into right here, everybody. It's this shirt right here. It's readily available on Redbubble at the moment, and purchasing that shirt helps to support this show. It's also making fun of Gundam, the most interesting man in the world, and Taco Bell, the three greatest things ever out there that were created. And so you can go get that shirt right now. They do all the fulfillment, and it helps to support this show, as well as I'm a big comic book guy, and bags and boards are massively expensive due to inflation. And so save yourself 10% by typing in Pop Anime Comics on BCW Supplies. Save yourself 10% off on everything that you buy from that store. And so without further ado, I have with me Cosplayer, Venture Bros. So welcome to the show.
Hey, appreciate you having me on.
Well, I have to say it this way. First and foremost, thank you for your service, because obviously you are a veteran and you laid your life down to make sure that we can actually do this. So I do want to say thank you for your service, first and
Yeah,
foremost.
no problem. Appreciate that.
And now, though, we're not going to talk about military as much as I love talking about the military. I used to work in 2 VSOs, but I do want to talk about your cosplay, because
Okay.
that's what you are, and you're a male cosplayer, and I love male cosplayers. I love giving attention to male cosplayers. And I am curious, how did you get into cosplay? Because you have 37,000 fans on Instagram. You have, on Facebook, you have 15,000 on Instagram. And
Mhm.
so I'm super curious how you got into the entire game of cosplay.
So, it kind of so basically I was on deployment in Afghanistan. After your first 6 months in Afghanistan, you come back for 30 days and you go back. So I had rented a hotel room at the Marriott for Labor Day weekend. So I came back from Afghanistan, picked up my best friend, picked up my little brother. We ended up going to the Marriott. We chilled for a second, talked. Next thing you know, we get on the elevator, and it's nothing but cosplayers. So they're talking to us, telling us about like all this different stuff with cosplay, and they didn't think we were nerds because we didn't dress the part or anything. And so they started asking us about these different movies and like, did we recognize the characters they were? And we started naming like everybody they were. And so they were like, yo, you guys got to come to the bar with us. So at the bottom floor of the Marriott, we go to the bar and we see nothing but like cosplayers. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening that all these like people are dressed up here? And lo and behold, we were at Dragon Con. At the time, I had no clue what Dragon Con was, so I was just like, okay. But no, we're at Dragon Con. And that's kind of what kickstarted us, me and my brother, to being like, okay, we got to jump into this cosplay thing.
And so obviously that sort of happened. And then how did you get into making your cosplays? And what was the first one? Because that's always the one that everybody wants to know in the cosplay world. Because it's either really good, bad, or you don't just want to talk about it.
No, my first cosplay that was my first cosplay to actually go viral. I did Killer Bee from Naruto. And yeah, Naruto. I ran into the problem when I first started cosplaying to where I'm 6'2", and at the time when I first started, I was like 310. So I was a real big guy, and nothing I could order would fit. Like nothing was in my size or anything. So it was like I had no other choice but to learn how to make it. Luckily, YouTube's my friend. Luckily, a couple of cosplayers I reached out to and asked for tips. A couple of them responded. A lot of them didn't respond, didn't say anything to me, but a couple did respond. And when they told me what to do, it was like, okay, I'll try to do this. And so I did it. I created the Killer Bee cosplay, um, and I went to KatsuCon. Next thing I know, it was blowing up. It was on social media, but I hadn't created a page yet. So like I didn't know like, okay, I should create a page, post a picture on my page and then share it. Like, I didn't know anything like that. So it was going viral, but nobody really knew it was me. So but yeah, that's how I first started like creating my own cosplays.
So let's even talk about that because obviously I'm a huge Naruto fan,
Hmm.
and I've interviewed a bunch of people on my other show from Naruto, and I
Okay.
grew up through it, and I love it, and it's my jam show, and like I love watching the filler and
Right, right.
everything. I'm sorry, I'm one of those guys that it's easy for me to turn on and just peace out.
Uh-huh.
And so, what was this like though, and being drawn to Killer B? Because Killer B is one of the ones who doesn't get consumed by the Akatsuki. He's hanging out
Right.
with Naruto. He obviously talks in rhyme, and he's very much an essential character in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And he's a fun character, but he's not filler character, if that makes any sense. So, what was
Right,
that
right.
like building that out as well? And also, you're a big guy, so
Yeah.
Killer B's sort of jacked, and Killer B's a big
Yeah.
guy too.
Yeah. Yeah. Killer Bee and Six Kage are both huge guys. And it was a debate which one I want to cosplay. Killer Bee was a lot more fun. So that grabbed that it was a no-brainer to cosplay him. And then he was also a black character, so I resonated with him for that. And then he was big, he was tall, so a lot of things matched up with me and him and his aesthetic. A lot of things matched up, and so and when I cosplayed him, I like to cosplay in character. So, every time I'd see like a Naruto cosplayer, I put him in the headlock or I like start messing with him or, different stuff like that. And it was just a real fun thing to do. And so I had a lot of fun with it. And in the show, he's a goofy character. Then he was also, able to beat Sasuke. And back then, nobody was really beating Sasuke on the show. So, and Killer Bee, yeah, it was a no-brainer that I had to cosplay.
Let's even talk about something that you brought up, where obviously, you know, there are black characters in anime, there are
Mhm.
white characters in anime, and then there's all sorts of different color characters in anime, and there's aliens
Mhm.
in anime as well. And so, what is this like? Because I believe that you could cosplay whatever you want to cosplay. I
Mhm.
personally am not in the camp that you have to stay true, and I've like mashups and all that stuff. But
Right.
what is that like that you cosplay a character that obviously represents you and that fits you, and that I don't know how to exactly ask this question, but
Mhm.
obviously you sort of connect with to some degree. And so what was
Yeah.
that like? Because
So,
it's a very good question that's going on with representation right now in cosplay.
right. So I feel like you can cosplay any character you want because you see me, I cosplay any character. Like they can be white, they can be Asian. If I like the character enough, I'll cosplay them.
I mean, they're all
Killer
Asian
Bee,
in anime, but that's not the point
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
here.
with, so with Killer Bee, um, Naruto was such a big series in so many of our hearts. So with shows and anime or even like Marvel comics or anything or Star Wars, you want some sort of inclusion. You want some character that looks like you that is a good character, whether he can fight, whether he's just a character we enjoy. You want some type of representation like that. So for Naruto, we all loved the regular Naruto series before Shippuden. So there were no black characters in Naruto before Shippuden. So the inclusion wasn't there. But then when they created Shippuden, and then we saw Killer Bee in the cloud, that was black inclusion in a show that was one of our favorite shows. And these characters weren't drawn like a blackface character or like extra exaggerated character. These were good looking anime characters that were the inclusion for black people. And that played a huge part. That's why Killer Bee gravitated towards us. That's why Dario or Six Ryukage, that's why they gravitated to black people because this is where the inclusion was. We have a village. We have an equivalent to a Hokage. Like we have an equivalent to a tailed beast. Like that's where it was the inclusion that made these characters so important to us.
Yeah, and I think that, obviously it also at the time, from my understanding, is that Naruto and at the time, the movement in cosplay wasn't the mashup movement, it wasn't the inclusion movement, and all this stuff was starting to hit. And obviously, Killer B came out a little bit before all that stuff in my world. And what I noticed is all that mashup stuff. So obviously, that was sort of predating some of this stuff. And it's just
Mhm.
very interesting with all that. And obviously, I like Killer B because Killer B's a monster and he's an
Yeah,
octopus.
yeah, it's a
Like
big.
it's just, and I love the fact that he just talks in rhyme, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's so funny to me in the
Mhm.
anime. And I just enjoy him as a character, and I enjoy the fact that his big brother, who's the sixth, I don't know what
Right, yeah.
it doesn't really like how his younger brother is like a more
Yeah.
like
Polar opposites, you know.
but I also like the fact that when they do like double fist like punching people, oh, it's great. But
Right.
I digress,
All the wrestler moves.
I digress right there. But obviously, Killer B was your first one, and we're gonna talk about a bunch of other ones because while I do like your Killer B, I do not think it is your most well-known cosplay. But
Hmm.
before we get into that, I am curious about your entire process and how you create a cosplay. And talk a little inside baseball because cosplay is extremely tricky. And where does your inspiration come from for all these characters? Because you've done a bunch of characters that I
Oh
want to
yeah,
get into.
yeah. Usually, if I'm watching the anime or the movie or whatever, if I like the character or resonate with them at all, I'll start. The ideas will start popping in my head. Like, how would I look as that character? How could I make that character into a cosplay? And then once that happens, that's when I start the process and try to bring it to life.
And even go further into that, do you sketch out what you're doing? Do you use references? Do you just sort of go into it? Do you
I
start with
sort of just go into it. So, like a recent one I did, like with the Encanto. So I watched Encanto with my daughter, and she loved it. I liked it. And then once I saw Felix, I started thinking about like, okay, I could find a shirt like that maybe on Amazon. Maybe I could, maybe I could edit myself a little more weight, and then the ideas start coming. And then after the movie went off, that's when I looked on Amazon. Boom, I found a shirt. I was like, okay, I can buy that shirt real quick. And then I started playing around with Photoshop and start adding weight to my face. And then I was like, okay, so now I got the weight going. I was like, let me try to age myself up a little bit too. And once the shirt finally came in a couple of days later, boom, I took the pictures and there it goes.
So let's even talk about that because one of the things that's sort of going on in cosplay, and I had a very brief cosplay career, about 3 months. 3 months. I mean, very brief. I bought my cosplay off eBay. It was tailored to me, and there
Hmm.
is a big issue that I feel is going on, and maybe it's gotten better where I view cosplay that you could go buy your cosplay completely made and then you wear that character, and that's
Hmm.
fine, or you could go make it and I find that there is sort of a divide between certain people and certain entities with that. I also feel that there is a very complicated also divide where I know people make parts of their cosplay and then they also buy other parts because certain things are just cheaper to buy than to make at the
Yeah.
moment. So what is that like for you figuring out that balance? Because obviously with Encanto, you bought pieces of it but then with other
Mhm.
cosplays, you've put it together piece by piece by
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
And so, what is that like? And balancing that, and also figuring out what parts am I going to make, what parts am I going to buy, and
Mhm.
all that stuff. And then also the opposite side is figuring out how to balance the cost of all that because cosplay is expensive.
Right. So, basically, I feel like you should cosplay what you can. If money's an issue, then that can hinder you. With me personally, I used to think when I first started that you had to make your own stuff to be kind of a respected cosplayer. But that was short lived in my eyes because I started noticing that's a way to police people's fun, and that should never happen. So with me, um, Now that I have lost a little bit of weight, so now I can buy cosplays. If I can buy something, I'll buy it. Simple as that. I don't have that thought process of no, I gotta make myself. No. If I can easily just buy it and it looks perfect, just like what I want to portray, I'll buy it now. Because it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter unless you're planning on entering contests. It really doesn't matter. Now
Yes.
when I compete, oh, go ahead.
No, because I was about to even ask you this, is that there's a whole complicated division, and I find the word toxic, and this might be the most
Mhm.
controversial component unless we have a discussion whether Frozen or Encanto is better, but that's a different discussion. Um,
Right.
this will end the friendship. Um,
Right.
all the things in the world that'll end the friendship, but
Mhm.
getting myself recentered here. Um, Professional cosplayer extremely toxic. And I don't have a problem with people making money in any sector they're in. But I find that the word professional cosplayer sort of goes into the world of did you make your cosplay versus did you buy it? And I think it's a big issue in cosplay because it does create a divide. And the way I view it is that somebody makes or buys a costume. What do I care if you're having a good time and it looks good?
Right.
Because it has to still look good. And you could buy a shitty cosplay off
Mhm.
eBay. You could make a shitty cosplay, or you could buy a very expensive cosplay off eBay, or you can make an amazing cosplay, but
Mhm.
it still has to be worn. And so, what is that like for you? Because I think that's a big problem. And obviously, I'm not a cosplayer, but it's what I've seen.
So with professional cosplayers, if somebody were to have that type of mindset, which is kind of gatekeeping, but let's say they had that type of mindset,
We all
I would
know
think
who's
that.
gatekeeping. Let's not pretend here. We don't need to mention them by name, but we all know the top 20 cosplayers.
Well, the thing is, the top cosplayers don't all make their stuff. So you could take, and I'll even mention one. I'll say Jessica Nagiri, right? She's a very talented cosplayer. She has made a lot of her own stuff. She has. I'm not taking that away from her. But there's a lot of stuff she does not make. Do I knock her for that? Not at all. Like, she's sponsored by BlizzCon. So every year, Blizzard, the gaming company, invites her to their con, and then she cosplays the characters from the different games they have. They create the cosplays for her to wear at these paid events. So what am I going to say? Like, oh, she didn't make that perfect looking cosplay that she's wearing at that event that they're paying her to be at? No, she's embracing it. She's taking like, hey, if they made it for her, she's going to wear it. I've seen other cosplayers, like Leon Chiro. Does he make a lot of his stuff? Yes. But I also have seen him say in different posts with different cosplays that this piece came from so and so, so and so. This armor was made by so and so, so and so. That's not going to take away from his following. That's not going to take away from his credibility. And people are still going to love him even more because he's going to look even more accurately like the character. So with people buying their own stuff or not making their own stuff, that's part of cosplay. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to be a few people who are discrediting him because of he didn't make it. But the majority of the fan base don't care if you make it or not. And that's the thing about it. So unless you're entering competitions, then it really doesn't matter. Now, if you're entering competitions, then yes, you do have to learn how to make your own stuff. Because the competition, they're going to figure out if you did make it yourself, they're going to call you out on it. But yeah, so that's the only time I would really be super strict on like, oh, I got to make it, as if it's a competition. But outside of that, it's about how you look as the character, and it's also about how you feel when you cosplay it. So,
Yeah, no, I completely get it. And I don't have a problem with people making things or not making
mm,
things. I just have issues with people stating things they are or they're not.
yeah.
And some of those people, they don't like me saying it, but I view a lot of them as softcore porn stars. But that's I mean seriously, if you look at their Patreons and you spend 2 months in it, It's pretty close to that. I'm just saying
It,
it's
I
not
mean,
cosplay anymore. Jessica
so
Fury is not a cosplayer in a lot of ways. She does cosplay things. She's not a cosplayer. She's a model who
see
is gotten.
that no, you bring up a good point. She is a model, but I feel like when you're a cosplayer at that level, that is sort of modeling. And with her, I'll say this: it's hard to separate her cosplaying from the other things she does because she did start off cosplaying originally. So the whole time she's been cosplaying, she didn't have a Patreon, she didn't have an OnlyFans, but now, of course, yes, she does have those things. But starting off, she was just a regular cosplayer like us all.
It gets
So
tricky because
yeah,
when she started off, she wasn't a business.
right,
And
right.
that's where this gets tricky. So when I started off podcasting, and I'm very honest, I wasn't a business. Now I'm a
Mhm,
business. I'm also a
mhm,
podcaster. But if you go back, look at my early stuff, I'm
mhm,
interviewing the exact same people, and I'm at interviewing the top echelon and the bottom
mhm.
echelon. And I haven't changed. I've just changed the skill set in a lot of
Okay.
ways. I've changed the amount that I do, where I'm
Mhm,
doing a lot more content now. I'm doing a lot more interesting things, and I'm also slightly more selective. But I'm still interviewing somebody who has 3,000 Instagram followers. I'm also interviewing somebody who has 600,000. So I run the gambit for a reason, though, because I look for talent and I look
right.
for the next generation and also the old guard. But
Mhm,
she's also a business, and this is where this gets really tricky in the
mhm.
cosplay world, I feel.
No. I think you're definitely right. That's why I said it's hard to really categorize it because it's like with all things, things evolve. So it's like what's the statute of limitation? Where do we say like, okay, you're no longer a cosplayer? And then in certain light, a lot of cosplayers don't feel that she's doing anything that doesn't make her a cosplayer anymore. Whereas you'll have some that say like, she's not really a cosplayer anymore. And I mean, there's valid points on each side. So
So
it's really hard to.
I'll explain where the line is for me.
Mhm,
If she is posing in a sheer bra and panties on her Patreon or OnlyFans and she has elf ears, she's not cosplaying. Okay. If
mhm,
she's posing in a lingerie Pikachu on OnlyFans, that to me is not cosplay anymore. She goes to BlizzCon as one of their characters in a booth or on stage as they unveil a new game. That's her cosplay. I
mhm.
think because and I think those are obvious distinctions.
Right.
And not trying to make her a target. If she started saying I'm a troll and started going after me, I would think it'd be hilarious, and I would milk that shit so well. I would make so much money. I'm not going to pretend here. You'd make money too. It would be great. But the idea is that obviously that's kind of where I draw the line, and I just have seen this a lot more. And the reason why,
Yeah.
and I speak with girls about this too, so it's not just a guy thing.
Right,
And
right.
a bunch of girls are like, yeah, this is kind of a complicated entity to
Yeah.
deal with, and so that's where I'm at with all this. Is
Yeah.
that, but again, I got no problem with anybody doing what they want
Mhm.
to do, but I also have to acknowledge that when something crosses a line, we're now not cosplaying anymore, and it gets
Right.
tricky. Who is cosplaying? Who's modeling? What is OnlyFans? What is Patreon? In this entire thing, because when you have a nice naughty sheer picture set every single month. What are we really doing here? And then you're doing it with a cosplay. Does that mean that it's a cosplay set? Does that mean it's this? And this is where I get massively confused because I don't know what
Mhm.
I'm buying per se, but I'm not getting rid of it.
Right, right. And I mean, you bring up a lot of good points. But if you look at it like this, so when does it become us observing what she does to us policing what she does? Because based off your example earlier, if she does, if she's in a bra and panties and she's got elf ears, there's so many animes where you have characters like that. But let's say, okay, we don't consider that cosplay. But then the next month she goes to BlizzCon and they pay her to be a character, and that is cosplay. So do we say now she's not a cosplayer because she did a lewd set, even though she cosplayed a month later?
That is true. That is
So,
true. I
mm,
guess my whole thing is that, you know, I think she's a cosplayer, but I think she's also not a cosplayer in certain circumstances. And I
no,
think that
that is totally accurate. Yeah, yeah,
and I also
yeah.
think that it becomes this idea that she says I'm a professional cosplayer, and then she encompasses all of that in there. Where if you
Hmm.
do a lewd set and you have cat ears, I don't consider the cat ears just the distinguishing factor for cosplay. Okay, you know, you dress up as Pikachu and you're doing a lewd set, you have more of an argument, I feel. But
Right, right, right.
and so I think a lot of these professional cosplayers, and the reason why I say they've been toxic is that they're like, if you want to have 300,000 fans on Instagram, you need to have a lewd set Instagram or lewd
Yeah, see,
set.
I really hate
And
stuff like that. Yeah.
that's where it gets tricky, and that's almost like the
Mhm.
upper echelon between if we have all cosplay here and then we have the top 20, 50, or 100.
Mhm.
That's like almost the dividing factor, and
Right.
it's
And no,
very,
you're
very
right.
weird, and it does a lot of damage in my opinion, and it's something
Mhm.
I'm very against. And I just ruined your career and my career, so clearly. But I digress on that, where it
Mhm.
is something that is tricky because again, I got no problem with her doing what she
Right,
wants,
right,
but I also have a problem when we call something what it's not, and that's how
right,
it
right.
is.
Mhm.
So that's just how I view it, and it's
No,
very confusing and something that I think a lot of people are confused on.
yeah, yeah, and it's it after, or I'd say during COVID and after now, it really ramped up to where like the real lewd quote unquote cosplayers like really start doing a lot more lewd than actual cosplay. You know.
It's tricky because it just the divide it's blend now in such a weird fashion,
Yeah.
and it's mind boggling. And look, I'm not paying for any of that. There's plenty of free
Right.
porn. So I mean, legitimately, there's plenty of free porn on the internet. Everybody, I do not
Yeah.
need, or I could go buy, naughty comics instead, which actually they're going to sell for more money after I buy them. So,
Hmm.
but I digress now. But we just spent like 20 minutes talking about this. It's just
Right, right. Oh
basic
man.
section of this entire thing, but I do want to talk about something
Mhm.
that is what I think one of your most famous cosplays, and that's your Goku, which is completely not lewd in any stretch of the imagination.
No.
And what I liked about you, what you did with your Goku, is that your Goku has an afro, which I just think is
Yeah,
dope as shit.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
what's the story behind your Goku? Because it is still recognizable, but it's
Mhm.
also different, and I think
Right.
it stands out.
Yeah. So if you've seen a lot of my cosplays, I still try to do a lot of Afrocentric hairstyles with the characters I cosplay. So I was thinking about doing Goku because, of course, it's one of my favorite anime characters. And I was like, how could I do his hair in an Afrocentric way? And I was just like, okay, he's got a ton of hair. So I'm like, all right, let me try to find the biggest afro I can. And luckily I found it. Sadly, they don't sell it anymore. So I'm sad about that. But I found it on eBay. It was this giant fro, go straight up. Like a lot of fros you see are like super round. It wasn't like that. It went straight up and like kind of in. So I was like, okay, that could really look like Goku. And I was like, all right, let me try it out. So I wore it at KatsuCon, I believe KatsuCon 2019, or actually, take that back, KatsuCon 2018. And yeah, that's why I did the Froku. And it's funny because the voice actor for Goku, the voice actor for Bardock, and the voice actor for Krillin, they saw me at KatsuCon and they took a picture. Now, I didn't have a clue who they were. I thought they were just people taking a picture of me. And then a couple of people, like a week later, contacted me. And they were like, hey, it's going viral on Twitter. And I was like, what's going viral on Twitter? They were like, your Goku cosplay. And then that's when I saw that they had all shared it on their Twitters. And I was like, oh, man. So, yeah, it was really cool seeing that.
And then even going further into this, you did an Ultra Instinct version. this
Yeah,
one
yeah.
where you get it just with silver in it, and it's almost the
Um,
exact same thing, just with the silver. And I think that was at Colossal Con.
yeah, it was
And
at Colossal Con. Yep.
so
Um,
what was the story behind that? Because that's also just it's. I don't want to say that it was probably easy to some degree, but it also is brilliant at the exact same time because it's a whole
right.
cosplay.
Like it was the same time Dragon Ball Super when Goku first started going Ultra Instinct, and then a lot of my friends that were going to Colossal Con with me, they were all doing Dragon Ball Z cosplays. Like one of my friends did Goku Black, one of my friends was doing Trunks. So I was like, all right. I was like, how am I gonna do the Froku again, but different this time? So I was like, okay. I was like, maybe I could do the Ultra Instinct version. So I ordered white contacts. I sprayed it with as much like about 4 bottles of spray paint, of the hair, the hair dye spray paint. And I sprayed it silver. And I was like, all right. And then I took the Goku outfit that I had and I kind of cut it up to make it look battle worn. And I was like, all right, we can go with it like this. And that's when, I rocked that Colossal Con.
And then one of the things is that you also did a Super Saiyan version of this, and that might have been photoshopped. I'm not too sure if that was purely with
Oh yeah, yeah. So I did have the regular hair for the Super Saiyan version, but my friend he took the picture and he put the gift in it to make it look like my head was on fire, kind of, and my eyes were white. So I was like, oh okay. I was like, I'm gonna post that instead. So yeah.
and then there's also a bunch of fun photos. There's obviously one with you lifting, I think, Beakoff hearts and Yai Tristine or
Oh yeah, yeah.
so
Uh,
let me describe the photo. You have you and you're jacked. So now apparently I don't know if there was like a fence behind you and they're sort of leaning on it and you were sort of masking the fence, or you actually lifted both of them up on your shoulders. But now you have them, and I think one of them was Vegeta, I think.
yeah,
Or and maybe one of them was another Goku, or I'm
yeah,
not
he would
exactly
go.
sure.
Yeah, Becca was Goku, and the other one was Vegeta, and they both sat on my shoulders. And I both picked them up.
So what
Hmm.
was and there's been a few photos like this out there. So what was that like? Because while obviously doing photos and just capturing things in the moment, and I don't know if that was pre-planned or somebody was like, "Hey, I got this idea. Do you mind doing it?" type of thing. And what was that like? It's a very cool Instagram photo.
So like I knew Becca for some years and stuff. So she told me she was gonna do Goku, but I didn't know there was gonna be so many other like good Dragon Ball Z cosplayers out there. And her and the Vegeta took her and the girl playing Vegeta. They took a couple of pictures where they were like in fighting poses and stuff like that. So it was real cool. And then I thought of it in my head. I was like, you know what? I want a picture picking both of them up. So I was like, hey, I was like, can we try this? And I was like, I want both of you guys to sit on my shoulders, and I want to pick both of you guys up in front of the camera. And they were like, all right. And they weren't hesitant at all. So I was kind of shocked because I thought they'd be like kind of hesitant. No, they were like, okay, let's try it. So I just crouched down. They both sat on my shoulders, and then boom, I stood up. And hey, a ton, and it really. I got tired of carrying them because a lot of people were walking by and were stopping to take pictures. So I was holding them for at least a good like close to 5 minutes. And people kept just walking by and stopping. Oh, can I get pictures? Oh, can I take a picture? So yeah. Good times. Yep. That was Katsucon 2018. 2018.
See, I've never been to Katsucon, and it was about 25 miles from where I used to live.
Oh man, yeah, man. You gotta go to Katsucon. It's a great one. I'm not going this year only because the pandemic, but yeah, it's a great con.
What it was is that I lived in DC, and DC
Mhm.
had Otakon and had AwesomeCon.
Oh yeah.
And my whole thing was that I don't want to pay for a hotel. I don't want to spend like a $70 Uber trip down there.
Hmm.
And because I want more money to spend at a con. And if
Right.
there's two, three, four cons already in DC, it doesn't make sense for me to then go where I have to spend money and
Yeah.
drop more money. And I also much prefer to go to BlurredCon because it was smaller. And I
Oh,
do
okay.
better in smaller cons
Hmm.
just because I like smaller cons, more intimate. And that's kind of one of the things that I enjoy as an individual, because when a con has 3,000 people versus 30,000 people, the
Yeah,
vibe of the con is very different. And
very different.
it's something that I've learned. And also, Awesome Con and Otakon are in the same place, and that convention center is huge. It's very
Right.
spacious. I've never been to
Yeah, I've
California.
been there once. I went to Otakon 2019.
I was there. I had a good time.
Yeah, I did a Deadpool, and I can't remember the other cosplay I did there, but yeah, I did Deadpool. We had an X-Men group.
I've had a lot of fun at Otakon, but
Hmm
that's not the point. And then to get it back to your Goku, because one of the cool things I say, such an aside, this always happens at my show. When Jessica Nigeria comes out, we all know the show's going to go aside. But anyway, one of the cool things that happened with you is that you got featured in Cosplay Alliance magazine. And
Oh
so
yeah,
how did that happen? Because that's kind of what I think put you on the map in a lot of ways, where obviously you had viral things going, but this is one of the things that I think brought a lot of attention to you. It gave you a
hmm
nice piece in a magazine, and it also
hmm
drew a lot of attention for what you were doing with this character.
right. Um, I had applied to because they have a submission, and so I was thinking I had a few pictures, and I had never applied to or submitted my picture for a cosplay magazine before. So I didn't know how I was gonna go. I thought I was gonna get rejected. And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. If it happens, cool. If it doesn't, then still fine, whatever. So I submitted my pictures, and next thing you know, they told me they uh, they sent me a letter back, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go ahead and feature you. We actually want to ask you if you want to be featured before. We just not never got around to it." So I was like, "Oh wow, all right, cool." And next thing you know, like they had a big spread of me too, and I was actually surprised about that because I thought it was gonna be like three little squares on like a certain section of the page about me. No, they had like multiple pages about me. I was like, oh
So
man.
what is that like? Because obviously media is fascinating, and it's also
Mhm.
affirmation and reconfirming who you are, what you're doing, you're on the right track. And when people start doing that, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, now I have social cred. Social credit
Right,
is worth
right,
a lot. You know, respect is worth a lot. People who don't know
mhm,
who I am now know who I am, and
right,
all that stuff. It's something that obviously, when you reach a certain point, that starts happening. And it's great that people say, oh, you're great. But then when a magazine does it, everybody
right.
knows you're great, for instance.
Yeah, and it's so it's real affirming. It's real. I felt validated because like doing cosplay, I've faced a lot of racism doing cosplay, and I've even had people tell me that my cosplays weren't that good, and whatever.
And also, it's the fact that I'm going to say something that's going to be slightly sexist to some degree, but it's the idea that it's harder for a male cosplayer than it is
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
female cosplayer. So
yeah.
that also doesn't help. Where, I mean, I'm not going to say who, but I have a friend who photographers wouldn't work with him because he was a guy.
Oh man, yeah,
That's messed up.
that
And
is messed up.
he had a female photographer work with him on his calendar. And
Hmm
it was a weird thing, but yeah, even going back to this, like, what was that all like? Because obviously there's a lot of obstacles that you were facing.
Yeah, and it just made me feel validated. It made me feel like okay, I'm doing something right. If a cosplay magazine is willing to feature me, then I must be doing something right. And if I am doing something right, I'm gonna keep doing because I enjoy it. And and that was so crazy because after that one, literally, like in the next 2 months, I got featured in two more magazines. So it was like Cosplay Alliance, boom. Then the month after that, Cosplay Realm, boom. Then the month after that, Cosplay Zine, boom. So I was just like, whoa, it was just like back to back to back to back. And I was like, all right. I was like, hey, if
There's a
they
saying,
want me, I'll keep doing it.
there's a saying, when it rains, it pours.
Right,
The,
right.
that's the story of my life where I've had like 30 interviews in a month, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I
Oh
started
no.
we get 10. And
Hmm.
I could tell you all of January, I was all busy. So I know all
Hmm.
about media and that front, but when it rains, it pours.
Right.
But even still, even going into this, I mean, it must have also been very cool for you because obviously that must have translated over into social media at that
Yeah.
point too.
Yeah. So, I got a lot of support when I started showing people, especially like my family, because I didn't really tell my family too much about cosplay. But once I started being in magazines, my nephew, he saw him and his friend saw it. So then he told my older brother. Then my older brother told my mother. Then she all of a sudden wants copies of the magazine. I'm like, what? And, so because I didn't like tell them about it because they're not really into nerd stuff. So I was just like, all right. You know. So it felt really good to show my family this because my mother has seen me get awards before, in the military, but she never saw me get like put in a magazine or anything like that. So it was cool to show her that.
No, that's kind of funny because it's like, I know the feeling. I know exactly what that looks like. Like every parent has seen their kid win like a soccer trophy, right? Like,
Right, right.
but it's like now I've done something actually useful, like
Right, right.
protecting free speech and the world and the United States' way of living. That's a no big.
Right, right. That's nothing. That's no biggie.
I would have
Yeah.
done that. Oh, that's nothing. Winning
Mhm.
being in a cosplay magazine is the way to go, guys. Like
Right, right.
cosplay magazine, winning an award in the military down beneath all of that. Just
Right, right.
so
Shit,
anyway,
man.
it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Just again, this show. This is I think like my 14th or maybe my 17th interview of the year, and we are
Oh,
going
okay.
all the way downhill, just downhill. This show it clearly has gone into the
Yeah,
gutter, and
yeah.
on episode 3, it went into the gutter, and it hasn't recovered. So,
Oh, wow.
oh, I think it's some of my best work. Just
Mhm.
yeah, but I know where we're going straight down too.
Right.
Anyway, I do want to mention really quickly only one of your My Hero Academias because I think it's really, really funny. This one, and it's your All Might.
When I did Skinny versus
Because
All
this is
Might.
like the
Yeah,
antithesis of what you are as a
yeah.
big jacked up guy. It's like
Yeah. I tried to crop it around like without showing too much of my shoulders and stuff. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to squeeze in this picture so people can't notice. But there's only so much you can squeeze the shoulders in.
I just think it's a funny because it's like a weakened All Might, and that's why I think it's
Mhm.
hilarious in so
And
many ways. In so
and
many,
so many people have been asking me like, when you gonna do the real version? I'm like, you know. So one of these days I'm gonna get it.
and then obviously there's another one I want to talk about because I just wrapped up Brotherhood from Full Metal Alchemist. He
Oh,
did
okay.
King Bradley, and I love King Bradley.
King Bradley was by far my favorite in the original version and in Brotherhood. He was my favorite, so I had to do him.
It's a shame that I think King Bradley's voice actor passed away very, very young. I believe
Oh yeah, yeah.
very young, and it's a shame. But obviously, what was that like? Because King Bradley is such a great character. Collect.
I did that character, and I really didn't expect that one to go viral because I've always wanted to do King Bradley's his tactical outfit cosplay, and I'm still gonna do that. The one where he has the six swords, I'm still gonna do it. But I had I had bought the two swords from the Halloween store. They had the swords there. I bought two of them. I asked them, are they going to have any more? They said no. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just take the two for now. Then we guys restock. I'll get the other ones. So when I bought the two, I was just sitting around. And I was like, you know what? There are scenes where he only had one sword. So I was like, all right, I'll just do the collared version where he was at the end of the series when he only had one sword, and I'll just hold the two swords. Cool. So that's when I took the pictures, and I've had an eye patch because I did Nick Fury. So when I took the pictures and I posted them, like I said, I didn't expect it to go viral, and the next thing I know, boom, it was getting shared all over the place. And I didn't even think about the fact not a lot of people have cosplayed King Bradley either. So that added to it as well.
Because it's a weird cosplay because one of the things, and I'm curious how you feel, because me and my friends were speaking about this, where Brotherhood isn't an old anime, but it
No.
came out 2011, 2012, I think,
Mhm.
the English version of it. So it's
Right.
about 10 years old. But
Hmm.
it's also generational, where there are anime fans who are 18 who don't know Brotherhood.
Yeah.
But I'm 29, you're, I think, older than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
33.
so, but you know Brotherhood, I know Brotherhood, and then people from the new generation of anime, some of them are going back and seeing Brotherhood, but it's
Hmm.
weird because I had somebody on Unproductive Kitty, I want to say, and she's done, pretty much yeah, shoot, Olivier Armstrong, and
Oh
so
yeah. 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 Yeah.
he's in my generation's age.
Hmm.
And so it's one of those things where it's just a weird thing because people don't do it, but people do it, and people know it like me. And so, what
Right.
was that like? Because it is a weird anime to the point where a bunch of people know it and a bunch of people don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
People who know it, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word.
Right. Right. Because I mean, it's classic now. Even though it's not super old, it's still a classic. You know.
It's very much the category of an anime legend, is a good way I
Hmm.
put it, where it's like Gundam is an anime legend.
Yeah.
And so it's if you're an anime fan and you're a true anime fan and like a hardcore down to the core, you need to see FMAB.
Yeah. 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 I suggest it to a lot of all my friends who have never seen it. I always tell them check out Brotherhood. You know.
Mm-hmm. And then we got to talk about your Jet too with Cowboy Bebop before we get into the video game side of things, because obviously Cowboy Bebop is really hot right now in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, and Netflix helped that. People are actually really enjoying Cowboy Bebop. The animated series, the comic book just came out,
Right. Hmm.
awesome, and I may or may not be having a bunch of those copies. So I'm telling you, it's gonna be worth money. This is my jam, guys. I buy and sell comics for a lot of money. So what was it like doing Jet? Because it's well known, and that's like another one that sort of caught fire.
So Jet, yeah, Jet did real well. Yeah, because the official Cowboy Bebop page shared it, and then one of the actors on the Netflix show shared it, and also the Jet's voice actor he shared. So it got a lot of love. I had saw, once I saw the Netflix version, and I like the actor who actually plays Jet in the live version. And I thought to myself, I had wanted to do the original Jet look, but I had thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I think I might have a couple of these pieces for the way Jet looks in the Netflix series. So I went ahead, I got my sleeveless jean jacket. I went ahead and got some EVA foam, painted it brown for the shoulder pieces. I cut it up, painted some of the stuff silver for his like metallic pieces on his face. I have a 1911, so that was the gun I used. And then I went ahead and posted it. Next thing I know, I was fortunate enough for it to take off the way that it did.
And so what is that like to make the determination to go more Netflix show versus anime show wise? Because obviously both of them are very cool, but they're slightly different in the
Hmm.
way Jet is presented and both of that. And obviously, I don't even think because I think people would figure out it's Jet either way. But what was
Yeah,
that
yeah,
like to make that choice? Because it is a different choice completely, and I'm sure there was slight
yeah,
pushback to
yeah.
some degree.
Well, I I'm still going to do the original Jet look. It's just I'm going to do it with a group. So that's what made it easier. The group, we're all going to BlurCon, so they want to do it at BlurCon. So it was like, okay, I could do the one from Netflix now, the live version, and then at BlurCon I'll do the original Jet look. So that kind of helped me narrow it down.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mm.
I have no questions more about Cowboy Bebop. For the remainder of the talk, there'll be no more Cowboy Bebop. We are ending it right there with the Cowboy Bebop discussion. I know people are still sore from Netflix canceling, but as I always say, never say never.
Yeah,
You'd be surprised things come back
right.
around.
Yeah,
But anyway, I do want to jump
exactly.
into what I think you are also known for, which is either your top thing that you're known for or your second top thing beyond the Goku, and that is Mario stuff. And obviously, for all the people watching the video side of this, if you're listening on audio, I'm sorry. He has a bunch of hats that are Nintendo oriented hats. Mario, Waluigi. I think there's a Wario hat.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
I don't know what other hats there are in that realm of what other characters, but I'm sure there are.
Mhm.
So and you've done Dr. Mario, you've done Santa Mario, Fire Mario,
Yeah.
Super Saiyan Mario, and then you have a bunch. You've done Cat Mario, and then there's a bunch of your friends who have done Wario, Princess Peach,
Mhm.
Luigi. I think there was a Bowsette, a blonde
Yeah.
Bowsette, strawberry
Mhm.
Bowsette, um, a Toad, a Toadette, um,
Yeah.
a black Bowsette, and the black.
Yeah.
I'm working here. It's clear there was a Waluigi if I already didn't mention it, and
Yeah.
so what was the story behind this? Because this is
So
not just it's a universe in your world.
right, right. So I've always loved Mario. That was pretty much my first video game ever. I've owned 10 different Mario games. So it was actually pretty surprising. It was in 2020, and one of my followers was like, "Hey, you should really do Mario." And I don't know what took me so long to do Mario. I don't know why, but I was like, "Yeah, why haven't I done Mario?" So then I went outside, took my tripod, set up my camera, took some of the Mario pictures and posted it, and boom, it took off. And Mario, cosplaying Mario was also extremely fun because I could be as goofy as I want as Mario. And then there's so many different versions, like it's almost like an infinite amount of Marios. So, like you said, I've done Dr. Mario, I've done Toad Mario, I've done Cat Mario, I've done Tanuki Mario, long sleeve Mario, short sleeve Mario from Mario Sunshine. So I've done a ton of different versions, and I haven't even really tapped into like Wario, Waluigi, Luigi,
So you even
Luigi's
talk about
Mansion.
this because it
Huh?
is a universe, and Mario is big. Mario
Hmm.
is the biggest video game franchise,
Yeah,
if not one of the biggest. And people say, "Oh, Call of Duty, Pokemon." I think Mario trumps all of that. I really do.
Mario. Yeah,
I
really
think
does.
it's a real hard argument to argue against it in that realm. I think Pokemon also trumps everything else in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
I
Um,
think Mario and Pokemon, I think, are above everything.
and
You know.
you could say what you want about Nintendo. You could say those games are not the greatest games ever made. Double Dash, Mario Double Dash is arguably one of the greatest games ever produced.
Yeah.
Also, one of the only games on the GameCube that actually increases in value and has
Mm.
a brand new copy of Double Dash is like a $300 game, which is insane.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, and a used copy is like $90. It's
Mm.
insane. I have a copy of Double Dash. It's not for sale. Because
Mm.
Double Dash is a great game.
Yeah.
Legitly, there's 3 games on the GameCube that are amazing: SSX
Mhm.
Tricky, Mario Kart Double Dash, and Animal Crossing. Those 3 games
Oh
are
yeah, Animal Crossing definitely. Yeah.
unbelievable, unbelievably fun, and you can throw Super Smash in there as well. But Super
Mhm.
Smash Bros. Melee is a great game. It's not a phenomenal game,
Right.
um, in my opinion, on the GameCube. Unless you're playing Luigi's Mansion and you know how to beat that game because that game's
Yeah.
it's a difficult game, everybody.
Mhm.
But anyhow, what was to even go further into this because you've done a lot of photos, and I went through a bunch of the people, and I don't have all of the people. I know Splendid Treasure 88 was there. I know Jukebox Blues was involved. I know
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ash
So
Ash Shumali as Toadette.
yeah,
Um,
actually, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
Papa Bear cosplay. It
yeah,
was dope
so
too. I
Papa
got to
Bear, me and him, we both started this group in Chicago back in 2017 called Chicago PLC Cosplayers. basically to bring, just like the minorities and cosplay all together. And we do have a lot of Caucasian members in our group because we're all about inclusion, not excluding anybody. So after my Mario went viral, a lot of people in the group were like, "Hey, we want to cosplay Mario too, and we've got like cosplays already for Bowsette, and why don't we just do a group?" So Papa Bear was like, "You know what? I've always wanted to cosplay Luigi." So I was like, "Hey, let's do it." And so yeah, we set up, and this was during COVID, so everybody was kind of like a little, like, you still want to go out? And it was like, well, it's just up. So we met up, and like I said, it was about 20 of us there. Only about maybe 10 of us cosplaying, but it was about 20 of us there because people brought like their girlfriends or boyfriends. And, the photographer came, we had a videographer. Even though it's not a lot of videos posted, we did have a videographer there. And we took tons of pictures. Like we were outside for like 4 hours. So we were like dying in the sun, but we just, we knew this opportunity was real special. So we just banged it out, took a bunch of group photos, individual photos, and it was just a real magical thing.
Yeah, and what is that like? Because obviously, I went through your Instagram, and I'm gonna give you a chance in about 10 minutes because we got to talk about two more cosplays.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going Disney, guys. We're going Disney. I promise. But what was that like to have all those photos and not just highlight yourself, but also highlight a bunch of other people? Because
Well,
I've not heard about anybody but you until I
so
did my research.
So what I like to do, one of my favorite things is doing group cosplays. The reason why is because it's cool that, when my stuff does well, but I love it when my friends can enjoy it too. And, that was a chance for like everybody to try to get their shine in. Like, look, I started this Mario wave, come jump on this wave with me. And so it was fun getting their pictures out there and showing them and then showcasing their talents because that's what Chicago PLC, that's what we're about. It's all of us coming together, inclusion and bringing each other up. So that was the embodiment of our message, of our mission. So sharing their cosplays and their, like great, what the jobs that they did, especially like my friend Brent who did Wario. His Wario was amazing. The Bowsettes were amazing. The Peaches were amazing. So it was good to show them off, and for everybody to see, like, hey, look what we can do together. My Mario cosplay is cool, but look what we can do together, though. Look at the magic we can create as a group, and I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, and obviously, I think that there's so much more that you can do. I have a friend who did Samurai Mario and Luigi, and then they also did Army Mario and Luigi, and they did Koopa
Yeah.
Shells. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this. This is such a cool thing where they basically did, you know, Mario almost like in like a military uniform, and he's wearing like a GI helmet, and it's a Koopa shell. It is so
Really, I gotta
dope.
check that out.
It is so dope because it's just like
Mhm.
this would be something that he would do if Mario was in a war. This is exactly what Mario
We'd
would
have a
do,
shell, yeah. We'd have a Cooper shell.
and it's great. My only problem is that you didn't have a Yoshi.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't have a Yoshi, and
You're slacking, man.
because we had some people that were supposed to come, but everybody didn't make it out. And like I said, it was
No,
during COVID.
this is the wrong answer. You're supposed to say we didn't get to the level where we found Yoshi yet. This. I mean, I'm throwing you both.
This is Mario 1. Yoshi wasn't there yet. That's Mario 2.
I mean, God, you're a Mario cosplayer. You don't even know how to answer the question correctly. Professionalism. God damn it.
All right.
No, 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 no. I do like Yoshi though. I do like Yoshi. Yoshi's like the
No,
coolest
Yoshi's
character.
dope. Yeah,
How do
no,
you think
Yoshi's
you
dope.
get the home run, thing and then Super Smash Melee? The only way you could do it is with Yoshi.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, that's true.
You just like power up the baseball bat and the sand goes flying. You get like the
And I actually think there is I saw it on Amazon. It's a Mario cosplay, but it's got the Yoshi connected to it, but you blow the Yoshi up.
so basically it's you riding a dinosaur
Yeah,
cosplay.
pretty much.
Yoshi is the dinosaur, which is what Yoshi is. So
Right.
that's really really ridiculously funny. I'm gonna go look up and probably buy it 'cause that'd be perfect to wear on a cosplay.
I saw it on Amazon. If it wasn't for the fact that I was so big, I probably would have probably gotten it. But I was like, nah, that's not gonna fit me.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm so broke, I'd probably buy it too. But we all make decisions here.
Right.
I mean, I'm Kickstarter, so I'm around for another season, guys. So
Right, right.
between sponsorships and my Kickstarter, I'm around for at least another 2 seasons, I should say. Um, but obviously, and then there's a really cool photo that was edited with I don't know how to say her name, but Kara San or whatever her name is, K8.
Oh yeah, yeah. Me and her are actually cool. The guy who edited it, he didn't tell us about it. He just edited it and then sent it to us. But me and her husband at the first CatsuCon I went to, her husband and I both cosplayed Blackwatch Reyes from Overwatch. And that's how we got cool. So when that guy did that, it was kind of funny because I was like, hey, who put me in a picture with your wife? And then we all just start laughing about it. So, but yeah, that picture actually did real well too.
Nothing of mine ever goes viral. I hate you because it's like nothing of mine ever goes viral. Nothing ever happens. The coolest thing that ever happened is I took a wrestler who's a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan, and I got to interview Ian Flynn on Sonic the Hedgehog's 30th anniversary. That's the
I
only
feel
cool thing
like
I've ever
that. I
done.
feel like that's a huge win.
So it was a great interview, and I
Mhm.
also got to do Lisa Ortiz, who plays Amy Rose, and Colin Shagnassi, who plays Tails. And I should have reached out to all of them, and I should have just hosted the Sonic the Hedgehog 30th anniversary panel. And then like 4 months later, Sting's like, "You did this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It was a very weird conversation. It's like, how did we not know about this? But yeah, nothing good ever happens to me. I've come to that
Mhm.
conclusion.
Oh no! Don't
And
think like
but
that.
I'll just cry myself to sleep. It's all right. But I'm not a cosplayer, so it's all right. It's all right.
Mhm.
I'm just an interviewer, and I'm having a blast interviewing everybody.
Hey,
So yeah,
hey, you
instead, what
getting paid for it.
yeah, that's what everybody should really do. That's how you make me feel better. Share out the interview.
Yeah,
Legitimately, guys, it's free.
it's free.
But yeah, no, I thought that picture was very, very interesting. I'm like, is this legal? Was my question.
Yeah, like I said, he sent it to me. I was like, okay. And I asked her, I was like, you cool with me posting it? She said, yeah. I was like, all right.
That was my question: is she okay with this? Is
Yeah,
this
yeah. I asked her, I was
legal?
like, you cool with me posting it? She said, yeah. I was like, all right.
And now I do want to back out of the world of Mario, and we're going into Disney, and we're going slightly retro with Oscar Proud of the Proud family.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And this is going old school Disney. This is going when I didn't
Mhm.
have the Disney Channel.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw, okay, so what motivated that was I saw the trailer for, because they're coming out with a movie for it, a reboot movie. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, let me see if I actually have this stuff because I have everything that he wears. So I was like, you know what? I can do this cosplay real quick, easy. Boom, banged it out, and it ended up doing real well because it's a classic. So a lot of people liked it, and then like I said, the new movie's coming out soon. So a lot of people really gravitated towards it, and
It's
You
also
know.
the fact that, I don't have a Disney Plus account. I don't.
Okay.
I have too many subscriptions as it is.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that my understanding is the Pratt family is on Disney Plus,
Hmm.
and I'm 29. I don't have kids yet, but obviously people my age, people your age, they have kids, and we
Hmm.
grew up watching stuff like this. Or when I have kids, I grew up watching things on Disney like Jake Long, obviously Kim
Oh
Possible,
yeah.
things like that.
Hmm.
So there's going to be a point where I'm going to want to introduce my kids to what I grew up watching. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a big show that I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to that when my kids are 7, 8, 9, which is when I really, I think they're going to be old enough to handle it, that I'm going to introduce them to everything that I grew up watching. And
Hmm.
so a lot of parents, I think, are saying, oh man, I remember the Proud Family and I want
Right.
to introduce my kid to it. And then you have a reboot and it creates a very interesting cosplay connection because it brings that back on both a retro
Right. That nostalgia.
and also on a current level. That's one of the things that in 2020 I had Jesse Flowers on, who plays Toph from Avatar: The
Hmm.
Last Airbender, and the
Oh
weekend
wow.
Avatar: The Last Airbender was like the #1 show on Netflix when it
Right.
came out, and we were talking about this, saying, well, there's a whole generation 16 years later that you voiced Toph that you know is now paying attention, and it's a very
Hmm.
well received interview on my YouTube channel for that
Yeah.
reason. So, what was that like? Because you have two generations experiencing something at the same time with this cosplay.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I like the fact that we could come together at our age and appreciate it, and then younger folks who are like, "Oh man, that's Oscar proud." I can't wait to see the movie. It's cool to see them, enjoy what we used to enjoy. You know, because even though the generations are vastly different, there's still a lot of similarities. So,
And also, it's the idea that people see a new reiteration of something and then they want to go back.
oh right, yeah.
Or people say, I want to go forward. I had somebody who's been doing a comic for 30 years
Mhm.
and, the same comic for 30 years, and people are going both backwards and forwards at the exact same time.
Mhm.
And it's a very cool experience. And I'm sure people who I know, I've been doing this live stuff forever and for about
Mhm.
3 years, and people are going back to episode one. And then people are going back to episode one on my
Yeah.
show that, because I've been podcasting for 10 years and people are going back to those early episodes. And there's a reason why they have 10, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views is because
All
people are like,
right.
man, I just discovered your show. You have 50 other episodes. Let me check this stuff out.
Yeah.
And then some of that content's really, really good. And some of it's not so good, but that's not the point. Um,
Right.
but this might end our friendship, but we're gonna end on a positive note after this one. There's one more. There's two more, but we have to talk about Felix from Encanto. I did see Encanto.
Oh yeah.
I did see it, and obviously, I'm not going to ask the question that's on everybody's mind just yet. But you had a lot of fun doing Felix because you
Yeah.
sort of teased it at the front of this, where you bought the shirt, then you put on and modified your face a little bit with the weight. And
Mhm.
what was that like? Because that's sort of taken it to a new realm.
So with my closet cosplays, like you've seen when I do older characters, right? Like when I did Granddad from Boondocks, or when I did Uncle Iroh from Avatar, or Old Man Joseph. Like when I do these older characters, um, I'll take the picture, then I'll edit, like my face a little bit to match the character, and I'll age myself up. And it's been something that I don't see other cosplayers really do. And I don't see even doing these characters, I don't see a lot of people trying to do the older characters. So with me, I resonate with some of the older characters just like I resonate with some of the younger characters. So with Felix, I just, he just seemed like a real cool guy, real down to earth. And I was like, okay, let me try to cosplay him because I haven't cosplayed too many guys who are like, overweight, middle aged, or a little older than middle age, probably like 50s. So I was like, all right, let me give this a try. And so, I tried to make my body wider. I tried to make, of course, my face wider, my neck wider. Um, I made my hair a little different. So I used the fro that I bought. I ended up cutting it up so it could, match his. And it turned out pretty good. I didn't think it would go viral because I was like, for some reason I thought a lot of other people were gonna be doing Felix, but then I see that nobody else has really done Felix.
Ooh.
So, I had some of the people from Disney commented on the post. BuzzFeed reshared it. So it's doing real well. A lot of people. I think these older characters. A lot of people just they love seeing those characters. So I don't mind being the only person in that lane bringing those characters to life.
So let's even talk about this because you mentioned two things that are super interesting. Obviously, closet cosplay has gotten
Hmm.
massively bigger, and
Yeah.
I view it as its own category now,
Mm.
where I view it where there is going to be moving forward, even after we get past COVID, people say, "Look, I don't want to go to a con. I want to sit in my house and do cosplays and get creative and have a bigger digital footprint."
Right.
Like I am not interested personally in ever going to a con ever again. I can make just as much money selling buying comics from my house, and I can make as many entries as I want from my house, and I could be way more effective than I've ever been. I'm making money for the first time in my business, and I used to go out, do panels, and try to network at cons, and I have way more connections than I've ever had. And I don't think that's going to stop. I think it's going to increase. And so I'm
Mm.
very much a at-home interview guy, and companies and
Hmm.
places like StreamYard and Zoom, Skype, and Microsoft Teams allows me to
Mm.
interview wherever I want to interview from. And so I think that's becoming bigger, and I think that it also has opened up what can be done with cosplay because you can edit, you could have a lot more fun with it. You can go and
Right.
do things on Photoshop. You could add effects, and you're becoming your own studio and
Hmm.
editing, and it's expected that certain things are edited and that
Right.
it's a perfect thing, and that also nobody expects you to have a $900 piece of fabric in a closet. They expect it to look pretty good, but they don't.
Right.
It doesn't have to be perfect. And also
Right.
other things like I had stale corn on, and she does body paint on certain cosplays, and that's a
Hmm.
closet cosplay that can't be worn out of. I mean, I'd be down
Right.
for it. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but it's the idea that if you're doing body paint, clearly it's not con appropriate.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes
We're not
sense.
gonna let you just walk around the counter like that.
What is that like for you? Because that I feel has opened up a whole new world in cosplay, and it's a direct effect out of COVID.
So when I first started cosplaying, I didn't really know the difference. So I had been like doing closets simply because, and I said this on a different podcast before. I started closet cosplaying when I tried to first start buying cosplays. So when I first started, I was trying to buy cosplays, but they were too small. So I would have to do things like cut the back of the shirt in order to fit the shirt at all. So I can't wear the shirt at a con, but I can take a picture at a certain angle with this cosplay and look completely fine. But the back is all out and exposed because I bought it and they told me it was a 2X in China, when really here it's just a one, it's just a large, you know. So that's kind of how I started closet cosplay, and I could just kept doing it like that
And then the
because
Instagram side blew up.
huh?
The Instagram side with COVID sort of blew that up in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Because like Facebook, I blew up on Facebook before Instagram. Instagram I didn't take off until COVID. In some ways I didn't take off that much until COVID for even Facebook, but more so Instagram. You know.
And so, because I just think it's a whole new business opportunity, and I
Hmm.
think that there's a lot of money to be made in it, and it's something that obviously I never say never, but I would
Hmm.
definitely be more of a closet cosplayer. And the reason why is that I have a physical disability, so
Oh, okay.
so I can do a closet cosplay a lot easier
Hmm.
than I can do it at a con. And
Yeah.
also at a con, when I go to cons, I'm handling a lot of business where I'm buying comic books and
Hmm.
I'm looking to get signatures, and I'm there for business. And that's the
Right.
other thing in my world is that I go to a convention, I'm there strictly for business. And
Hmm.
I have a good time. I like looking at cosplayers. I respect and I appreciate the work that goes into it. But you don't see me at a cosplay contest. You see me either doing a panel about a topic or buying or getting stuff graded and handling because I make a decent amount of money in my side business and my eBay store
Mm,
with
yeah.
con goods and materials. So that's the other thing for me is that at a con, it cosplay doesn't fit at a Comic Con, and
Hmm.
at an anime con it might, but I'm also there doing a lot of panels. I've
Right.
had places where I've done 6, 7 panels in the weekend, and I'm strictly there for business, and I'm strictly there for content production because
Hmm.
I film every single one of my panels and live stream it, and I am strictly
Right.
there for business. It has nothing to do with anything else. So that's kind of why I am way more of a closet cosplayer type of person
Mhm.
because I just don't have when I go to a con, it's a different atmosphere than
Right. Your time is being consumed by the business time.
and so it's a strictly business position and there's advantages and it is a deduction.
Yeah.
Hey, it's tax season. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You got to know how to play the game, guys.
I don't know how to play the
Yeah,
game.
but I know how to play the game. Okay,
Mhm.
I know all my expenses. Hey, you served and you allowed me to do this. You protected my expenses. So,
Hey, hey, that's what I'm here for.
but and then the other thing you mentioned is that obviously older characters too, and
Mhm.
I haven't seen many older characters, and also there aren't as many older cosplayers.
Mhm.
I've only been interviewed one cosplayer who is older than the rest of the people that I had on, and she is different very much, and
Mhm.
she's attractive, but she's significantly older.
Okay.
She's like the oldest cosplayer I've interviewed, so obviously cosplay to me is also a young person's game. And so,
Right.
what is that like? Because if you're sort of young, you might not want to do an Uncle Iroh, for instance. And so,
Yeah. So that's what I was saying earlier when I said like I don't mind being the only person in this lane. So, like with Uncle Iroh or with Gran Torino from My Hero Academia, and just other old characters that I've done. I don't mind that lane because I do love these characters. Uncle Iroh is one of my favorite. Just probably Uncle Iroh is my favorite in Avatar: Last Airbender. So cosplaying him it was it was easy. When the Netflix show popped back off, and I fell in love with the show again, and I saw Iroh. It was easy for me to be like, okay, I want to cosplay Iroh. I'm gonna go do it real quick. Um, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is one of my favorite animes. I like young Joseph, but I also like old Joseph. So doing his cosplay was like an easy one. So, and I like doing cosplays that not everybody tries to do. So, that's my only unique lane. I don't mind that. And I'm just like, all right, if you guys don't want to cosplay these characters, I'll do it. You know?
and then even talking about that, because one of the things is that there's a whole new sector where people are mashing up things, and there's a lot of people who are pushing forth ideas in cosplay. And
Hmm.
this is one of those things, and things are evolving. And it's very cool in that regard of what's going on in that front.
Hmm.
And obviously, first movers advantage is a big thing, and it's
Hmm.
very important. And I've seen a lot of cool stuff being done, and I've seen a lot of stuff also being tested in
Hmm.
cosplay, and some of it doesn't last, some of it doesn't make it. And
Right.
so it's very interesting in that regard. So
Hmm.
obviously, but this seems to be working, and if nobody's doing it, you might as well capitalize on as much of
Yeah.
it as you can because it is a very competitive for view space in the
Yeah.
cosplay world, and it's much like podcasting. It is extremely competitive for views and a variety of other things. So I know this, and obviously I'm slightly in the cosplay world because I interview a lot of cosplayers. The
Hmm.
goal is 50 this year, and yeah, that's kind of I get it because I'm marketing it and it's not easy.
Right.
So obviously, but no, it's super cool. I appreciate the Uncle Iroh stuff. So
I appreciate it.
And then I would ask, Bruno or let it go, but I don't think that's a good point to end on because this might end our friendship here. So,
I mean, I can't lie, man. I'm a big Bruno fan. We don't talk about him. Yep, I'm gonna have to stay by the side of Bruno. I mean, I still like Elsa, but we don't talk about Bruno.
I mean, these are the age-old questions.
Mhm.
This is going to be the classic debate.
I mean, I was extremely shocked when I heard it beat out Frozen. I was like, whoa, because I was quick too.
I enjoy Frozen, and then
Hmm.
I have a different connection with Frozen because I did play Kingdom Hearts 3, and my
Hmm.
favorite level is the Frozen level in Kingdom Hearts 3
Oh, okay.
because I like having an ice sword key,
Oh,
and
okay.
I just like the design for it. I think it's a cool sword. I really do. Like it's just a cool keyblade. Like you
Hmm.
know, honestly, the keyblade in Kingdom Hearts is an awesome sword.
Yeah.
What a great concept
Hmm.
for a sword. Like one
Yeah.
character I would love to cosplay is Sora from Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just
So it's
think
cool.
the Keyblade is awesome. Like I want I'm gonna be building a studio and I'm gonna be putting up some really cool 3D printed weapons on it, and then I'm gonna put up a
Oh,
key
okay.
on the back because like I want like an authentic Keyblade, and I might even
Hmm.
get it fabricated. I might just
Oh,
hey,
nice.
it can make me like a legitimate Keyblade, like actually like a weapon if somebody breaks into my house.
Hmm.
Because imagine that police report, everybody.
Pick up a keyblade and jack somebody up.
So how did you defend yourself again, Mr. Davis? Well, you're gonna see me in the police station and like the Keyblade has evidence tags on it. And just guys, be very careful with it. It's hidden. You don't know what you're gonna unlock with it. And then
Mhm.
and it's gonna, so explain to me how you defended yourself and knocked the robber unconscious. Well, you see, I heard a crash through my door. So I ran up my stairs. I got my keyblade right out of my room and he came swinging up and I just smashed him and he just went all the way down. And it's just gonna be, and then the magic happens. And then why does he have a Mickey Mouse drawn on his face? Like, it's gonna be so bad.
Oh man.
But I digress right there. We all know now not to rob my house once I get my keyblade.
All right.
It's a fair warning. I'm just letting you know that everybody out there, don't rob my house when I have a keyblade. We'll see what happens. Magic might come out. Goofy might show up. Donald Duck can arrive. Donald Duck could arrive. You never know. You never know what's going to happen.
Never
Um,
know.
but anyway, we do need to talk about one more because this is sort of one of my favorite cosplays you've done, and it's Roger Klotz from
Oh
Duck.
yeah, yeah, Roger.
Uh, that's an acid trip in its own right. That
Yeah,
entire show.
yeah. Roger. So I was planning on doing Roger for a while. My boy Swaggy Cosplay, he does Doug a lot, so that was never an option for me. Because, like I told you, I like to do characters that no one really does. And I've seen several people try to do Doug. And my boy Swaggy, he's done Doug several times. So I didn't want to, step on his toes. I know that's one of his um kind of niche cosplays. So I thought about it, and basically, Nickelodeon had reached out to me, and they had asked me for my uncle Iroh to, showcase. And I told them I was like, well, I'm actually working on a new one, a new cosplay, and if you guys want to take this one instead of Iroh, since I did do Iroh back in 2020, it's 2022. I was like, I can come up with a new one for you. And they're like, all right, well, show us what you're talking about, and then we'll consider that over the IRO. And that's when I did Roger. And no one knew it was coming. Caught a lot of people off guard, and it just went viral like almost instantly. Like I
So what,
posted
what
that,
is what
people were
is
posting
that
all over
like?
the place. Huh?
What is that like? The Nickelodeons want like hit you up and they're like, hey, We want to change your cosplay because obviously Nickelodeon is a big company and they have a
Yeah.
lot of shows. And what is that like? Because it's so weird. Like I don't know what that must be like because I've never had anything like that happen to me.
I mean, it's really cool. Of course, it makes me feel validated again, makes me feel I'm doing something right. My Uncle Iroh got a lot of love. It's probably my second highest. Okay, so my most viral cosplay was Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. My second highest cosplay that went the most viral was Uncle Iroh. So Iroh was, the voice actor shared Iroh, or the second voice actor. Rest in peace to the first one. The second voice actor shared it. Nickelodeon had shared it. Avatar Studio had shared it. So I knew that Nickelodeon had my Iroh on their radar before because they shared it. But when they contacted me, it felt good that they still remembered me from 2020. Um, but I definitely want to give them some new material because I'm like, okay, let me give you guys something new that's good and not like always rely on one of my old viral ones. I like to keep things fresh. Let me give you one of my new ones that I can do well with. So, you know, um, and like I said, I like the challenge that they reached out to me because now I'm like, okay, now there's stakes. They're expecting me to come with something good. Let me come with it. So boom, that's when I had to come with the Raj. And like I said, it's been going viral ever since.
Man, that's so dope. And again, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, I've never had a viral post, so that's kind of cool.
Oh,
And it also must be
you
so.
get there, But I mean, your focus is your podcast. So the fact that you're already talking to voice actors and stuff, I feel like that's like a big deal.
You know what it is? I just ask and I'm fearless, and
Mhm.
that's the reason why I got because the worst thing that can happen to me is a no. And
Right.
I've only had two people cross a line with me in my entire existence of almost 600 interviews, and I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
somebody's having a bad day. And then I'm like, I'm sorry. And then
Mhm.
I just walk away, and then I cross them off a list. I put them in my Excel sheet. Do not contact again. If I think about contacting them again, don't. Like you have like 15
Right.
minutes out. But like only twice somebody would just like went ballistic. And look, people say, I'm gonna be busy for the next 5 years. I'm like, gotcha, I'll hit you up. And I put a reminder 5 years later. And people are like, I said contact me in a year, and I contact them directly a year later. And they're like, and I said, oh, you told me to contact you a year later. Gotcha. And like somebody
Gotcha.
it's great, but yeah, no, it's oh man, I can't imagine. It'd be so cool if Nickelodeon's like, yeah, oh, we really appreciate your interview. We're just gonna retweet it. It'd be really cool. I'd appreciate a retweet. I'm asking for a retweet. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for sharing it. A retweet, just one. It'd be cool.
Mhm.
I'd appreciate it. That's all I'm saying. When
Yeah.
Liv Morgan retweeted me once on WWE, I was super excited for like a month. I was like, yay, Liv Morgan, yay! It was great. Terry Crews, though, did like one of my tweets, which was also really cool.
Oh, nice, nice.
That was cool, too. And then Lana retweeted a bunch of my tweets once, so that was kind of cool, too.
Oh,
But
wow.
that's as far as I go. I'm a big wrestling fan, but no,
Mhm.
it must be super cool the fact that Nickelodeon's looking at you and pushing it out and sharing it out. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like or feels like, but I can imagine it's like, man, I kind of made it.
Hey, keep working. Hey, you'll get there.
I'm not too concerned because I'm in where I'm supposed to be right now.
Mhm.
Where as an interviewer, and I'm very honest, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I
Mhm.
funded my Kickstarter, and the fact that people want to pay to be on my show and support me,
Yeah.
it's a very weird thing. And so you might say, "Oh, you only funded $855." Well, it is still $855, and monetizing a podcast is complicated and it is not easy. And any amount of monetization, if you monetize your show for $10, that's a big deal because you legitimately have beat out 90% of the market on
Mm.
$10. And if you do it
Wow.
once and you do 50 episodes and you only made $10 the entire year, you're still beating out 90% of the market, which is
Wow.
crazy. But this is not a show about podcasting. That is Thursdays, guys. No, 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 I do not have a show about podcasting. I do not want to teach podcasting at all. You could have bought a spot to learn how to podcast from me. But Kickstarter's over, guys. But if you're interested in that, hands down, you can hit me up and we can work something out, everybody. You could also learn how to invest in comic books and make real money, but which will probably make more money than podcasting. But that you could also hit me up for that. But I do want to talk about COVID with you because obviously COVID has fucked up shit, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And so, how have you been affected by COVID? Because cosplay is a very in-con experience. It is also photos, and that's in person. And obviously, COVID since March of 2020 has been on, off, and in between, and things are complicated. And there's been better times in COVID, worse times in COVID, and I don't really know where we're going with COVID, and I don't even know where we're going with cons per se.
So, as far as cosplay, since I've always done closet cosplays, cosplay wise, it didn't affect me. It did affect me as far as seeing my friends at cons. I didn't see these people that I used to see every year when I went to Katsu or every year when I went to Dragon Con. I didn't get to see those people, so that really sucked. On a personal level, COVID-19 did take away my father. COVID-19 did take away my uncle. So I have had loss of family members due to COVID. So, COVID did, like you said, it fucked shit up.
It's run through, and I mean, and the reason why I ask all this, and obviously sorry for your loss. One of the things, and the reason why I ask is that I made a whole shift in my business due to COVID, where prior to all this, I was not doing live streams. And so I got into the live stream and I just thought all these wrestlers and all these voice actors and all these comic people and cosplayers were getting screwed. And I said, let me at least see if we can do interviews. And maybe I'm going to do like maybe 40 interviews. And maybe I can help a bunch of wrestlers sell t-shirts to supplement their income. And so I came into this in a whole different way where I'm like, these people are getting screwed. I am so backlogged on my other show that I'm going to get out 30 interviews this year, and all these people are getting fucked over here. Let me see how I can help. And I didn't know it was going to work. I didn't even know how to live stream anything. Honestly, I never live streamed. The only thing I knew how to do was do interviews. And so obviously I made a shift in my business. And I think I bet right to some degree because I picked up sponsors and I'm producing more content than I've ever produced before. And my entire fan base has changed where I'm getting more in views, and obviously there's a whole business opportunity for me, and I'm figuring out everything. And I've also realized that there's a bigger world outside the con space. And for me, I'm trying to capitalize. So the reason why I ask all this is that I don't really care if cons ever come back. I don't. I honestly have never made con friends. All the friends I have are now all throughout the internet, and we live all over the world. So I have a friend who I'm on a show almost every Monday. He's in Canada. There's another guy that's up in Michigan. There's another guy that I think is down in Florida. And I know these people better, almost like I know some of my friends that I've known for the last 25 years. And it's a weird entity for me. And I don't give a shit if cons come back because I'm making more money. I've known more people in the industry than I've ever known before. And I might be the only person who's actually successfully networked on the internet and without ever doing cons, and probably doesn't have to do cons, who hasn't produced a comic book. And so that's kind of where I'm at as an individual. And so I'm curious where you think all this stuff is going, because I think, what I read is the cases in New York with Omicron are dropping, but I've also read they're increasing. And I also don't know where we're going as far as conventions are. I'm curious your opinion on it, because I'm sort of out of that game in a lot of ways.
Honestly, dead honestly, I have no clue where it's gonna go. I
Fair
used to
enough.
think,
Fair enough.
huh?
Mm. Fair enough.
Yeah, because I used to think like I used to think that probably June 2020, I thought we would have been good to go with creating a vaccination and beating COVID, but all it's done is mutate. All it's done is mutate again, and like we're in, I can't trust the numbers because, something has to be wrong if Maryland just went on a state of emergency again. And like other states are like panicking again. It's like, how are we to this point where we're getting vaccinated and people are still dying from it? And it used to be COVID didn't affect children that badly, but now children are dying from the new variants. So it's just like, I don't have a clue where it's going to go, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't really know where it's going either, and I'm also very, very, very skeptical. I haven't been to a con since July of 2019, I want to say.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so I am very skeptical in the COVID era. And that's the other thing too, is that if I do go to a con, I do one in a blue moon, you know, and let's just I just want to go as a fan. I am very skeptical
Hmm.
because no offense to anybody else, but I don't want to be around 20,000 people. Con crud is real. And we
Yeah.
saw this with Anime NYC where that was like the second or third case of Omicron. And I was speaking in August and even in July saying, look, Anime NYC is going to happen. And
Hmm.
I don't know if it's going to happen. There's going to be something that comes out of it. And like, you're wrong, Andrew. And I'm like, well, I don't think I was so wrong, guys.
Yeah.
Clearly, something came out of it, and there
Clearly
wasn't just
something.
one case. The one case they were talking about that the White House mentioned was somewhat, it was from Kentucky, it was crossing state lines, it was cherry picked that case, and there were other cases that came out of that con. Because when you have 20,000 people together in the middle of COVID, there's no way in hell that it's not going to come out of something. That doesn't mean you don't go to the con, that doesn't mean you shut it down. What it means is that being around 20,000 people in this environment is not ideal. And
No.
my parents are older, so why would I want to bring something home? You
Right.
know,
Mhm.
it's I don't want to kill my parents,
Right.
and so I'm very, very, very selective of where I want to go. And
Mhm.
that's something that I'm making a conscious choice because my job is not dependent on this. But I know people whose job it is, and that's a tough, tough, tough pill to
Yeah.
swallow.
Yeah. Very, it really is.
So on that note, though, now that we've depressed everybody, oh, let's just go fight about Bruno and let it go. No. But obviously, I ask all my guests that because obviously anybody who's in the con space or goes to cons, this is something that we're all having real issues with, both on
Right.
the comic front. Me as a podcaster, me making my return to cons at some point. These are all great questions, and everybody has a different answer because I know people down in Florida are like, I got no fucking problem going. And
Right.
it was great. I wore my mask. I had a blast. It was cool. It was like a party. And then I know people who are like, yeah, I'm not doing that shit. And fuck that. And then I'm doing better on the internet anyway. But I do want to give you a chance to self promote yourself. If this interview wasn't a gigantic self promotion, I don't know what was. But I do want to give you a chance. Where can people find you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok? Because I know that I think you have a TikTok, right?
Yeah, I got TikTok.
Of course you have a
Yeah.
TikTok. You're a cosplayer.
Yeah.
Every cosplayer has a TikTok. I
Yeah.
don't know if you have a Snapchat. You might have an OnlyFans. I
Oh,
mean,
no, no, I
hey,
don't touch that stuff yet.
it's all right. We're not here to judge. We're here to make you money. It's all right. You got to do what you got to do on OnlyFans. I get it. Patreon is another good one. Snapchat, Gumroad, all that fun stuff. So where can people find you and follow you all on social media?
So you can find me on Facebook at Venture Bros Cosplay. Then you can find me on Instagram at venture__bros. You can find me on TikTok, venture__bros. And you can find me on Twitter, Venture Bros 2.
Yeah, that's very important, and I'm going to be linking a bunch of those links up in the description, and I have a few of them up there already. So obviously, one of the things I've been saying is you have to support indie content creators, indie cosplayers, cosplayers in general, and the way you do that is following their Facebook pages, following their Instagram pages. You know, if they got PayPal links, buy me a coffee, coffee links, Patreon links, you know, anything of that nature, throwing them money is very helpful because cosplay is expensive. Helping them continue to do what they need to do, you know, helping them fund and buy a ticket to a con so they can actually go goes a long way. And just even supporting and, you know, even sending somebody a message. You know, I get messages from my show sometimes. Someone's like, hey, I really like that episode. You know, just keep going. It means a lot to me as an individual. And I appreciate when people do that for me. I'm sure you appreciate when somebody comments or says something nice about a cosplay or shares it out because it goes a long way or tags it in a story. It goes a long way because it lets other people know as well. And it's very, very important to do that. As far as I'm concerned, obviously, you could go check out my sponsor, which is this shirt right here. It's Honor Ray from Gundam. I made this shirt up and I bought somebody. It's a great shirt. It's on Redbubble. I don't always eat tacos, but when I do, it's at Londo Bell. It's in the Fallout, you know, style, which is super cool. It's drawn purposely badly, and I love it. It's not drawn that badly, but you know, obviously, I like tacos. I like making fun of things. Also, you can't get these right now, but they will eventually be up. This is my friend DJ Croft, who's an amazing cosplayer, and that's my cute little elf. And so me and DJ did a collaboration for my Kickstarter on a metal card. This is all going to be shiny Japanese. He is the male Laura Croft, and like he gender bends it, and he's a slaying cosplayer. And so those are going to be up on my eBay store April, May. And a metal card, it's $15. So it's going to be a cool one. So it's something to look out for. I think I'm only going to have like 40 of them left. And I don't know what DJ is going to sell his for because he gets half of the entire stock of what we didn't sell. But obviously that's something to pay attention to and look at. Yeah, and just support me. You know, use my sponsor, Pop Anime Comics, 10% off BCW supplies if you're a comic book person. And yeah, I just appreciate everybody just sharing this interview out. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
All right. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And, you know, hopefully we can work together again in the future, my brother.
Yeah,
Thanks for
anytime
inviting
you want an interview, just hit me up, you know, anytime.
me.
And
Definitely.
that's a wrap, everybody.